is the internet to tell you you own too many black blazers, you know? We've all heard about the benefits of having a well-edited closet, a better sense of style, more opportunity to wear the clothes you already own, more opportunities to get creative and putting really interesting outfits together that you might not have thought of, and less decision fatigue in the morning. But what I've come to realize is that a well-edited closet doesn't just happen overnight, and it doesn't happen once a season or like once a year either. The more I work with styling clients and the more I just build my own personal style, the more I've realized that smaller, regular editing habits are what yield better style results, and not necessarily just doing a giant declutter or a giant closet edit once a season or even once a year. It's almost the same as considering yourself an editor, someone who is constantly curating and gathering sources of inspiration, someone who is constantly sort of culling and recategorizing all the time, and not feel as though our clothes are wearing us or that our closet's just getting out of control. So today I'm sharing 5 really easy but regular habits that will hopefully lead you to a maintained edited closet. If slowing down your fashion consumption is something you're interested in, or you want to get more into shopping your closet, then you've come to the right place. Welcome, my name is Alyssa. I talk about slow fashion, have been for the past like 7 years. It's a lot of fun. Give this channel a subscribe if that's kind of your thing, or just keep watching and see how you like it. And I would also like to take the opportunity to thank today's video sponsor, AG1, but I'll tell you a little bit more about them in just a few minutes. My first tip is a habit that starts even before you start editing, but it's a really good mindset to get into and make a habit out of. And that is, when you are bringing something new into your closet or just thinking about it, understand the why before you buy. And this really helps manage the inflow so that you're not constantly worrying about decluttering and you're just adding things with more intention, which makes editing a much easier process as you go about it. This is as simple as creating a shopping list so that you have a more targeted approach to your shopping. And it's also as simple as just asking yourself before you make a purchase and giving it pause. Are you feeling emotional or a certain way and are using this purchase as a crutch or as a way to just self-soothe? Which honestly, we're all human, that's fine. But being aware of our purchases and what trigger them, or giving ourselves that mental pause and understanding of why we're buying something, can lead to less overwhelm in the long run. One of the biggest challenges that I find most people face when editing their closet is this presence of multiples and this feeling that we need to declutter things that all look the same. I'm gonna take black blazers as an example. Especially in a post-pandemic world, a lot of us aren't going to the office as much and we're finding our blazers to be redundant. However, if each of these black blazers have a very different style vibe or silhouette or texture that makes them appropriate for completely different occasions, or that allows you to really play with the proportions in your closet and maximize your other pieces, I don't necessarily think that they have to be decluttered. So when it comes to editing, I do think that really digging into these sort of redundancies or these multiples is a good idea so that you are editing again in a more mindful way. And you're not just looking at your multiples in your closet and feeling guilty because you have too many because the internet told you that that's too many black blazers to have. Who is the internet to tell you you own too many black blazers? You know? If they work for your lifestyle and they are all each very, very different and you wear them all the time, then maybe they're okay to hang on to. Once you handle this sort of redundancy section or these multiple sections, they can really help reduce the visual clutter and the physical clutter in your closet as well. I recently did a live with my subscription community and the focus was decluttering and editing your closet. And it was so cool because so many of us, as we were going through our decluttering and editing homework for that month, we all commented on how this concept of editing and decluttering sort of spilled over into the rest of our homes and the rest of our lives. And this is what brings me to today's video sponsor, AG1, because this is a similar principle to the way I manage my pantry and groceries, and it's very similar to how I've changed over my supplement and vitamin routine as well. So before we move forward, a very quick thank you to AG1, today's video sponsor, for keeping my pantry clutter-free, just like my closet. Rather than keep a bunch of different pills or powders and whatever in my pantry, I just take 1 scoop of AG1 every morning. I especially love their travel packs because they don't take up any space when I travel. I just got back from Italy. I loved having them with me because it meant I could keep up my routine even when I was away. And let me tell you, I've been taking greens since before they were popular, okay? My mother is like a very big, healthy person when it comes to putting things in her body. So I've been taking greens probably since I was like in my teens. And I can safely say that after 2 months of using AG1 and taking these greens, that they are by far my favorite. No joke. Even if they stop sponsoring my videos, I'm still gonna buy them because I really love them. These are definitely my favorite supplement, and I don't take putting things into my body lightly. They deliver vitamins and minerals, pre and probiotics, and phytonutrients from whole food sources. And I like that the ingredients have been intentionally combined so that they have the most optimal effect on my health. I could never remember which supplements to take, either like with food or with other supplements in conjunction with other things. I don't really have that kind of like bandwidth in my brain to remember that anymore. So this is a big bonus for me. AG1 supports healthy skin, a strong immune system, and digestive system. But in all honesty, the taste is great. And that is a huge factor in being able to take my supplements every morning. It's kind of like a piece of clothing. Even if it's quote unquote sustainably made or secondhand or any of those things, if it's not a piece I genuinely love and want to wear often, then it's not necessarily the best clothing option for me. If you're interested in trying AG1, go to drinkag1.com/Alyssa Beltempo to get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. I loved having these on my most recent trip to Italy. Thanks AG1 for sponsoring today's video. This next tip might require a little bit more planning, but it's still pretty simple. All that's required is for you to make a small space either in your current closet or getting some hooks or a special smaller rack in the place where you get dressed, whether it's your closet, a walk-in, or a separate bedroom, whatever your situation looks like, and using that as a little special area to put any pieces that you are considering editing out of your closet. This really sequesters these how to style pieces and will give you a much better data set if you are, say, keeping them on that rack all season, and every time you put them on, you're still putting them back. If they're not being worn, that can allow you to make a much better editing decision. You'll feel confident about it. You won't have as much regret or guilt in letting it go because you know you really gave it a good shot. But I also find this is a really good way to sort of visually focus and get more creative with those pieces that you already have, because you're intentionally trying to integrate them into your daily outfits. It's a much more authentic editing process rather than just looking at something with a snapshot perspective when you might be, you know, overwhelmed because you're going through your entire closet. Whereas this is a little bit more holistic, it's a little bit more natural because it's part of your daily process of getting dressed. Another mindset shift is to simply try constantly curating and editing your closet. If, for example, it's the 5th time in 1 month that you have tried styling a piece and it's really not fitting, or it's really not making you feel good, or it's just feeling a little bit forced, then let it go there and then. Don't wait for a big declutter session to do so. If you have a pile of items that are waiting to go to a seamstress or a tailor and you're really not finding the motivation to actually bring them in and they have been sitting there for months, I think you're able to use that data set to understand that if you're not investing your time and energy into those clothes, make a call about them right away. Don't wait. Don't let it pile up and become an overwhelming decision when you're going through a big declutter or a big closet edit. So hopefully hopefully when it comes to these decluttering decisions that maybe for you feel more like a snap judgment because they're not part of a whole like decluttering session or an editing session, they're not really snap decisions. They're definitely based on an action or a way of thinking that you have been incorporating over time. You know, you've put these pieces aside. You've been thinking about how to style or if it feels forced. My last tip is a little bit like the first, and that is to reflect and figure out the why when it comes to letting go of a piece. A lot of times there is a lot of guilt and shame that stops us from editing an item out of our closet. And it remains in there and it reminds us perhaps of a time that we don't want to be reminded of. Or, you know, perhaps it reminds us that we are not as accepting of our body in its current state. So in the same way that you would ask yourself why you are purchasing a piece or why you purchased a piece, I think it's also a good practice to reflect on why you feel guilt and shame around letting go of a piece, or why you feel guilt and shame around why you are not wearing a piece. This can take a lot of practice. It can also be very difficult. So definitely register the mental state that you're in when you're doing this. It's kind of hard to face, but this self-work is a huge part of developing your personal style, because ultimately I find the confidence that comes with self-acceptance and understanding ourselves is what really makes our outfits shine. And that can only be done once we get to know ourselves a little bit better. This might not be the simplest or easiest habit to get into, but it does get easier the more we do it. Even if this looks like journaling to you or just taking a quick moment of reflection while you're doing it, I think can be really beneficial. So that is what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. A huge thank you again to AG1 for sponsoring this video. Don't forget, I've got that link in the description box below for you. I've also got that QR code. Definitely do check them out if you're interested in learning more about AG1 or giving them a try. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining, for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful rest of your day, a wonderful rest of your week or evening, wherever you're at. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, or if you learned something new, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be back with another slow fashion video. Ciao!